Hey guys, I want to talk to you for a minute about vulnerability. It's something that mostly men have an issue with, especially veterans. Nobody wants to admit that they're having issues or admit that they're struggling. I was just listening to a Jocko podcast earlier today, and it kind of made me think, it said something about your everyday struggles, you're being hangry. There's certain things that you're feeling. He was saying, some people say, oh, express how you feel. But then he was also saying, no, keep it inside. And so I think my interpretation of that is, like he was saying, there's certain things where you just keep to yourself. Like, if somebody is like grinding their teeth and it's annoying, just keep that to yourself. You're hangry or you're hungry, you don't want to go to work, you just have some small complaints, you can keep that stuff to yourself. But when it comes to the serious stuff, like depression, like suicidal thoughts, those are the kind of things you need to talk about. Because, so many veterans have it confused in their head where they shouldn't, talk about certain things. They should be strong, keep it to yourself. And I know I kind of, I can rub people the wrong way sometimes because I don't filter myself and I speak from the heart. So I'm going to share my story with you. A lot of you know it, but some of you don't, and I apologize if I get emotional for this one, but I'm going to tell you why jiu-jitsu is so important to me. Now, my healing process wasn't only jiu-jitsu. There was a lot of different things going on in my life at the time, that we should just leave aside. But 2015, a lot of you know that I attempted suicide. And wasn't the first time, but I decided that my life wasn't worth it anymore. I didn't talk to anybody. Nobody knew how I was feeling, and I kept it to myself. I didn't want people to know I was suffering. I didn't want people to know. I just wanted to disappear. And so I decided I was going to go to the Boundary Waters up in northern Minnesota. Beautiful place, for the right reasons. You should definitely go check that place out. It's absolutely wonderful. Look up the Minnesota Boundary Waters canoe area. It's absolutely amazing. I went up there and I decided I was going to spend my last few days, being a man, kayaking, fishing, hunting. I didn't catch anything hunting, but I caught a lot of fish. I didn't really bring a lot of food because I figured, I'm not coming back anyway. I didn't bring a tent. I just slept in a sleeping bag, and I ended up just sleeping on some rocks, some flat rocks. It was smooth right down by the water, but my tinnitus is really bad, so I can't have silence, so I slept right next to the waterfall, which is perfect. I spent my last 5 days of my life, just absolutely free. I was kayaking, I was fishing, I was hunting, I was swimming, and there was a eagle's nest not far from my campsite that I would watch quite frequently. You really get to know yourself in 5 days of seclusion. No technology. I actually recorded my whole trip, and I kind of made it like my last documentary. And I cried in it. I expressed my feelings. I talked about all the shit that haunted me my whole life, and from Iraq and Afghanistan. And it was sad. I remember that emotions I'm telling you about. This is hard for me to talk about, but it's something that that I lived through, and none of this would be possible, and I wouldn't be where I'm at right now had I not experienced the 4,999 to 1. So my last day, I decided that it's time to end it. And I went out to an island, and I decided that that's where I was going to end my own life. I did 9mm, and I made all my own ammo, and I probably loaded over 5,000 rounds, which is where the 4,999 to 1 comes into play. I remember sitting there, and I just felt nothing. But I also felt everything at the same time. I don't know what finally got me to that point to finally, get to actually try. So the thing I do remember is looking up in the sky, and I had that urge, don't do it. There's more. And it just was so bad where I gave in and I said, fuck it. I put my 9mm up to my head, and I pulled the trigger, and all I heard was a click, and I swear I just felt white going through my head, and I just kept my eyes closed, and I started crying, and I opened up my eyes. None of this is exaggerated. I opened my eyes, and there was an eagle flying above me, and right at that moment where I opened my eyes, it dove down, and it caught a fish out of the water, and it took it over to some rocks on an island, kind of far. I couldn't see it very well, but I could see it was eating the fish right there. There was a deer across the lake drinking water, and this rush of emotions just went through me, and I broke down crying. And I just remember sitting there staring at my gun, wondering, why the fuck did you not go off? I ended up I pulled the slide back. I pulled the slide back and dropped the magazine. And I want to know what the fuck happened. So I remember taking the round and looking at it. For those of you who don't know, you have a casing that the powder sits in. The bullet goes into that. And on the back side, there's a primer. What the primer does is you have a hammer. You squeeze the trigger. The hammer hits the round, hits that primer. The primer blows up, and it lights the gunpowder on fire, and it shoots the bullet. So the primer was struck, but the primer was a dud. 4,999 rounds were fired from my hands that I made through that gun. Never have I had a malfunction in my weapon. Always clean. Every time I shot, I would clean it. All my ammo was always checked. It was always seated perfectly. 4,999 to 1. It's the only reason why I'm here. So when anybody questions why I'm doing what I'm doing, I don't know why, but I'm here for a reason. And I feel like my reason why I'm here is to prevent veterans from getting to that point. Is to get veterans to be vulnerable. Don't worry about getting emotional. Showing emotion when you're dealing with certain things like that, it's not weakness. Being able to voice your opinion, and voice how you're feeling inside when you hurt the most, that takes courage. I'm not telling you to be a whiny bitch and talk about, oh, I'm not paying my bills. Don't whine. But there's a time and place, when you're truly hurting inside, to let it out. Find somebody you trust. Find a battle buddy. Find a wingman. Whatever military term you want to use. And all of this goes for civilians too. People who didn't serve. This goes for everybody. When you're at that point, call somebody. Being vulnerable in those situations can save your life. And you never know, it could save somebody else's too. Which is why I decided that I'm not going to hide from my past anymore. And I'm going to share my past, because if my story saves one person, I don't care. I don't care if people judge me. I don't care if people don't respect me because I tried to kill myself. I don't give a fuck. I'm happy with who I am today. I'm proud of who I am, and I love Warriors Next Adventure, because this nonprofit's not only for you guys, it's for me too. Because I'm literally about to spend the rest of my life talking to veterans at their worst moments, which I've already done. And to know that they're still breathing, whether it's because of the conversation we had, Or it's just me planting some seeds and they decided that, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna talk about my problems and I'm gonna fix my problems. First thing you need to do is talk about your problems with somebody you can trust. I can be that person, but we all have that one person, you know. Lena from the Veterans Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, said something at a speech the other day. Find your 3 a.m. friend. Who's that person you call at 3 a.m. and you know that they'll answer? I'll be your 3 a.m. friend. You might have to call twice though, because I can be a heavy sleeper every once in a while, so just, if I don't answer, call me back. I love you guys. Everybody who watches this video, you know, if this story speaks to you, call me if you need me. Call your friend. Find your 3 a.m. friend. Be vulnerable. It's not weakness. It's courageous. I love you guys.